Part 113. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1121. Master Xiaoxian, it seems that he is very interested in the history of Nanzan Hai's Hu. Haven't you heard of it before? There was some confusion in Long Tai's eyes. He had heard Han Xian say before that Xiaoxian was not a native of Nanzan Hai's Hu continent, but he didn't know where Xiaoxian was from. Just curious. To be honest, I always thought that the strongest people on the Great Dao continent were those in the Dragon God realm. I didn't expect that there were even stronger people above the Dragon God realm. Xiaoxian couldn't help but said, to be honest, a strong man of this level is definitely not accessible to ordinary people. I don't know the future, and I have no chance to come into contact with such a strong man. Xiaoxian just finished speaking. Long Tai, who was next to him, took it and continued, speaking of which, some powers don't seem to be so unattainable. As long as you have enough strength, you can participate in the disciple selection in the central region. As long as you have the talent and if you have enough strength, you can enter these sects for further study. Advanced studies? What do you mean? This was the first time Xiaoxian heard such a statement, and he couldn't help but continue to ask, is it possible that in your Nanzan Hai's Hu, disciples from different sects can practice together? Seeing Xiaoxian's appearance, Long Tai didn't seem surprised. As if he had known that he would have this reaction, he continued, actually, this is a special feature of our Nanzan Hai's Hu. You should be able to see that for the talented disciples of our Nanzan Hai's Hu, it's all very inclusive. Hearing this, Xiaoxian was stunned for a moment, and then nodded one after another. He knew that what Long Tai said was indeed the truth. Among other things, the Yuling Dan Society was an obvious example. As a treasure in Yuling City, the Yuling Pil Pagoda is ostensibly owned by the Danta. However, as long as Han Zhong, who was the leader of the Yuling sect at the time, just said a word, the Yuling Pil conference could not be held, let alone allow it to be held. Disciples from hostile sects like Snake Feng entered. Although he has never met Han Zhong. However, in this matter, Han Zhong's behavior still made him admire him, and it could even be said that he was a little surprised. So now, after hearing Long Tai's words, Xiaoxian couldn't help but nod and continued, if Nanzan Hai's Hu cultivators have such a big mind, why worry about Nanzan Hai's Hu not rising in the future, become the top strength on the Dao continent? Say it. Long Tai also smiled sheepishly. Obviously, he knew that Xiaoxian was not originally from Nanzan Hai's Hu. At this moment, Xiaoxian praised Nanzan Hai's Hu like this, which made him feel very comfortable. Then, what are you going to do with Mr. Shu Xiaoxian? Long Tai couldn't help but said, speaking of which, this dragon tree is both a good thing and a bad thing for us. How do you say this? Xiaoxian was a little surprised. You may not know that although the dragon tree is a very talented plant, its number is very small. Basically everyone will be invited to join the dragon tree sect, so, if you forcefully take this dragon tree with you, I'm afraid there will be danger. Long Tai was not stupid, and he could tell Xiaoxian's thoughts at a glance at this time. I haven't thought about it that way. But, according to you, there are still many benefits to taking this dragon tree with you. Xiaoxian became interested instead. To be honest, with his spiritual eyes, he could roughly know that this dragon tree was a treasure, but now he didn't know how to use it. Now, listening to Long Tai's words, he seems to know something? In this case, Xiaoxian naturally wanted to ask, or is Nagarjuna still good for human cultivation? Although capturing Long Jun may be risky, knowing that there are better interests, someone will naturally take action. He knew that there was nothing wrong with what Long Tai said. Speaking of which, but after smelling it carefully, there was indeed an unusual aroma coming out. After this aroma entered his body, it did make him feel relaxed and happy. Even if the essence of this Nagarjuna's body could be taken out, wouldn't his realm and soul be able to make greater progress? Longtai nodded. According to some people from the Den Pagoda, Longshu's body will secrete a strange fragrance. This smell is very weak, but if you smell it often, it can increase the practitioner's cultivation speed. Xiao Xian felt extremely comfortable. Although this dragon tree looks very wrinkled and ugly, any useful resource will basically arouse competition from many people within a certain period of time, just like this Nagarjuna. Although there may be protection from the Nagarjuna sect behind it, as long as it is beneficial, it will naturally arouse the interest of others. Xiao Xian lowered his head. Such a thing as chance. He took it out without any psychological pressure, but now, according to Longtai, this dragon tree is likely to grow into a real living person in the future, and he has some concerns in his heart. It was true that he couldn't believe it. Thinking of this, even he couldn't help but feel a little excited in his heart. If this dragon tree is just an ordinary spiritual grass. Good. This kind of thing sounds extremely mysterious, but Xiao Xian knows that this is indeed a real thing. In fact, this kind of thing is not only common in Nanzan Hai's Hu, but also in Donghuang Zhe's Hu. Sometimes it's not just words, many times it's just the result of practicing your own behavior. If it is said, it is possible to catch an adult Nagarjuna. If you are kind, you will have good opportunities. You know, he just brought an underage Nagarjuna with him, nothing more. He could roughly tell that there seemed to be something unusual about the dragon tree. After being strengthened by Nagarjuna, he also clearly felt that there was something in his body that had not changed from ordinary people, and the operation of his breath and skills became much smoother than before. For us human cultivators, Nagarjuna is indeed a treasure. After spitting out a breath of turbid air. Regarding this, Xiao Xian also lit up. He could feel that Long Jun's changes should be subtle. The longer he took Long Jun with him, the more beneficial it would be to his body. At this time, I also looked at the dragon tree carefully. After speaking, Long Tai hesitated for a moment and added, actually, this is the main reason why there are relatively few dragon trees on Nanzan Hai's Hu. Xiao Xian nodded. If you are evil, you will have evil opportunities. But soon, Xiao Xian gave up this idea. It was not that he was so kind and generous, but he and Longshu were strangers to each other, and it was somewhat cruel to benefit oneself at the expense of others. The so-called risks and benefits coexist. He understands. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1122. That's all. Since Nagarjuna may become a living person in the future, I will not forcefully take away his opportunity. After Xiao Xian thought for a while, he put Nagarjuna on the ground again. But just when he turned to leave, Nagarjuna suddenly jumped up and got directly into his arms. This surprised him. Feeling reassured again, Nagarjuna got into his arms again. In this scene, not only Xiao Xian, but also the dragon body next to him became interested and couldn't help but look at him in surprise. What's going on? Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask, Elder Longtai, didn't you say that Longshu had no intelligence when he was young? Why did he still take the initiative to get into my arms? Longtai on the side was actually confused. Obviously, he had never seen anything like this before. He blinked his eyes with confusion. Correct. I heard something. It is said that among the Nagarjuna race, there is an emperor of Nagarjuna. The existence of this emperor of Nagarjuna can take the initiative to recognize the master. After saying these words, Xiao Xian was suddenly moved. Speaking of which, it wasn't that he wasn't interested in Nagarjuna, which could increase his cultivation level. It was just that he had not been able to forcefully take away Nagarjuna's creation just now. But things are different now. If this Nagarjuna is the king of Nagarjuna and can automatically recognize his master, then the situation is different. He will not have any psychological pressure to regain this Nagarjuna. More importantly, listening to the meaning of Longtai's words, this Nagarjuna is actually the emperor of Nagarjuna. So the situation is a little different, which means this thing should be more precious. Or even better results. Is it really the emperor of Nagarjuna? A surprised expression appeared on Longtai's face. If this is really the case, then Mr. Xiaoxian, you have really found a treasure. The emperor of Nagarjuna is said to be the most precious existence among Nagarjuna. If he is in the Nagarjuna sect, he is directly recognized as the successor to the head of the Nagarjuna sect. Hearing this, Xiaoxian also felt a new emotion. If the thing in his hand is really the emperor of Nagarjuna, and he may even have the opportunity to become the master of Nagarjuna sect in the future, doesn't this mean that he may become the master of Nagarjuna sect in the future? That would be awesome. You know, there are many powerful people in the Golden God realm in the Nagarjuna section. If these powers are brought to the Eastern Barren continent by him, wouldn't Xiaoxian be the overlord of the Eastern Barren continent? More importantly, if all the Nagarjuna sects are Nagarjuna in human form, then the power of the sect is definitely not just about their strength on paper. On the contrary, it is because they have huge potential. With the special effects of Nagarjuna, Xiaoxian has reason to believe that in the entire Nanzan Haizu, there is no sect that does not want to take this Nagarjuna sect as its own. Owning the Nagarjuna sect is equivalent to having a cultivation accelerator that can increase your cultivation level infinitely. How could such a sect not be coveted? If young Master Xiaoxian wants to conquer the Emperor of Nagarjuna. Speaking of it, it can be regarded as an opportunity, but, I hope Master Xiaoxian can think clearly about the danger involved. Longtai couldn't help but remind him, not to mention that Emperor Nagarjuna is of great importance. If others know about it, they may not be able to help but take action. Not to mention, the Emperor of Nagarjuna has always been considered by the Nagarjuna sect to be the most important treasure in the section. If he is found and recognized as the master by you, I am afraid, a strong man in the Dragon God realm in their sect, I will kill you directly. So serious? Xiaoxian was a little surprised. He originally thought that by relying on the recognition of the king of Nagarjuna, he could become a guest of the Nagarjuna sect, and he would get some benefits at the end, right? But who knew that this was actually the case? Who knew that now it seems like a big trouble? Longtai introduced. Since then, the Nagarjuna sect has also had unwritten rules. As long as the Emperor of Nagarjuna is born, if he recognizes his master, he will become the target of the Nagarjuna sect, unless the master is powerful enough to a certain extent. The situation is such that even the Nagarjuna sect cannot do anything to them. A colorful ray of light suddenly appeared. Even his body is constantly strengthening automatically. Emperor Nagarjuna actually made a low voice, which was regarded as agreement. Snort. However, Xiao Hei's arrival aroused dissatisfaction from another owner of the space magic weapon. Seeing that you are chubby and round, and you are all black, let's call you Xiao Hei, Xiaoxian said directly. Now in Nanzan Haizu, the leader of the Nagarjuna sect in the central region is the former emperor of Nagarjuna. It is said that when this Nagarjuna sect leader was young, he also took the initiative to recognize the master, but his master only regarded him as a tool. It's not like this has never happened before. She is so proud of the blood power in her body. Although she is still in her childhood, she has long regarded the space magic weapon as her own territory. Now that she sees an inexplicable intruder, she is naturally a little dissatisfied. Hearing this, Longtai also nodded one after another and said, I also want to believe this. In this case, Mr. Xiaoxian, please accept the Emperor of Nagarjuna. In the future, he will definitely be of great benefit to you. Helpful. Buzzing. Although my strength is not as good as theirs now, in the future, One day I will definitely prove my strength. If nothing else, relying on their strength, if the Nagarjuna sect really knew about this matter now, it would be really bad. It was as if there was a strange power in his body, which really made him excited. The speed of the circulation of the power of the avenue has indeed accelerated a lot. He discovered that this little thing's eyes actually moved. Although it looked cute, it could actually bring him benefits. So after he came of age, the current leader of the Nagarjuna sect killed his master with his own hands. After Xiao Xian said these words, Xiao Xian also nodded and directly stuffed the Emperor of Nagarjuna into the space magic weapon. He originally thought that getting the Emperor Nagarjuna would be a good chance. Isn't it the Nagarjuna sect? Xiao Xian was a little dumbfounded. The little green body is an ancient mythical beast. Without waiting for Xiao Xian to react, he slashed directly at Xiao Hei's body. This scene really frightened Xiao Xian. Did he know that Xiao Lu could kill a powerful person in the Dragon God realm? Xiao Xian said directly. Obtained Long Tai's approval. Why is this still happening? This is crazy. If a ray of light strikes Xiao Hei. Is this Nagarjuna sect so ruthless? Thinking of this, Xiao Xian looked at the Emperor Nagarjuna in his arms. I'm afraid, even if this Xiao Hei is the king of Nagarjuna, he may not be able to withstand such an attack. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1123. Regarding the battle among the space instruments. Xiao Xian was completely unprepared, and it was too late to intervene. He could only watch helplessly as the arrogant Xiao Lu attacked the Emperor of Nagarjuna. Xiao Xian was helpless with Xiao Lu's violent temper. In fact, he was not surprised by this. As an ancient divine beast, Xiao Lu had her own unique arrogance in her blood. For such a long time, she had long regarded Xiao Xian's space magic weapon as her own private territory. If Xiao Xian occasionally put some dead objects in it, maybe Xiao Lu wouldn't protest much, but today she was a little dissatisfied with the addition of a potentially living thing like Nagarjuna. Seeing this, Xiao Xian also quickly stopped him. He knew that if he didn't stop him, Xiao Lu would really not let the Emperor of Nagarjuna go so easily in the future. Sooner or later, the Emperor of Nagarjuna would die in Xiao Lu's hands. Cough cough cough. Xiao Lu, this is called the Emperor of Nagarjuna. Even though he is still young, he is very likely to become a strong man in the realm of the Golden God when he grows up. Moreover, he is very helpful to our cultivation. You, don't bully him. Xiao Xian couldn't help but said. Golden God realm. What's so big about that? When I become an adult, it will be very simple to become the Dragon God. Xiao Lu didn't care much about Xiao Xian's words. She originally had the blood of ancient beasts, so the Golden God realm was actually nothing to her. Even not long ago, she had just killed a strong man at the level of half-step Dragon God realm, so naturally she didn't care about the Golden God realm. For Xiao Lu's physique. Although Xiao Xian was envious and jealous for a while, he was helpless. After all, if it comes down to it, the physique of a mythical beast like Xiao Lu is not something ordinary people can have. Perhaps this is the great thing about ancient bloodline. Others may not be able to reach the realm of the Golden God after practicing for a lifetime, but for Xiao Lu, this is just a matter of growing up. Okay. This little dragon tree is still underage. You, an ancient divine beast, don't get into trouble with him, okay? Xiao Xian was helpless. For an ancient beast with blood and strength like Xiao Lu, he felt helpless and angry in his heart. After all, if he really wanted to take action against Xiao Lu, on the one hand, he might not really be able to win, on the other hand, he was really reluctant to take action. It seemed that he felt Xiao Xian's sincerity. Xiaolu no longer took action, but looked at the king of Nagarjuna with great interest. There was a bit of doubt in his big eyes, as if he could see something. This thing's body seems to have an ancient aura. Little green Kyung's nose twitched. Ancient times. Ancient times again. Xiao Xian couldn't help but have a look of surprise on his face. It can be seen from Xiaolu that as long as he is contaminated with ancient blood, his strength will definitely be extremely powerful. He did not expect that this Emperor Nagarjuna still has some ancient power in him. This actually surprised him. If this is true, doesn't it mean that Emperor Nagarjuna is more precious than he imagined? Figure this out. Xiao Xian did not hesitate and said directly, "Xiao Lu, is what you said true? If it is true, wouldn't it be, this is more important than I thought." Indeed so. Since the end of the ancient war era, there have been very few species with ancient bloodline on the Dao continent. I didn't expect to encounter them twice in succession on Nanzan Hai's Hu. He said directly, since there is ancient bloodline, doesn't it mean that the bodies of this race have similar bloodlines? According to what others have said, in the middle of Nanzan Hai's Hu, there is a sect where all dragon trees are door. Not to mention, the Nagarjuna in front of him is still the king of Nagarjuna, which is enough to prove the excellence of this thing. He couldn't help but become a little curious. Could it be that Xiaolu was once an ancient royal family? You know, from ancient times to the present, there are only a few races that can claim to be the ancient royal family. But he didn't expect that Xiaolu would be so pessimistic. This is amazing. If this is true, it means that all the sects are species with ancient bloodline, Xiaolu added. Regarding Xiao Xian's analysis, Xiaolu shook his head and said, "This is basically impossible. Among all the ancient races, there are only a few who can truly be confident. But even if they in ancient times, they were all royalty." Xiao Xian comforted. "Since I was able to find an ancient stone tablet suitable for you last time, maybe you will encounter something similar after a while. Wouldn't it be possible to awaken more of your ancient bloodline?" Since getting Xiaolu, he has been curious about her identity more than once, but Xiaolu never said anything, so he didn't ask any more questions. In response to this point, Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask directly, "If you say so, with your outstanding talent, could it mean that you were once a flame demon phoenix, one of the ancient royal families?" "Say it. But it's no use knowing that. Figure this out. Just hear these two words." Hearing this, Xiao Xian was a little surprised. Listen to what Xiaolu means. Xiao Xian was a little suspicious and couldn't help but ask, could it be that they are confident? But now, ancient royal family. In fact, after seeing Xiaolu take action several times before, he had roughly guessed that the ancient bloodline of this level was probably the ancient dragon and phoenix clan. Xiao Xian couldn't help being surprised. Xiao Xian was a little curious. Perhaps, this is the only explanation that makes sense. Xiaolu said nonchalantly, "After the ancient war, the three ancient royal families lost all their powerful men and were almost exterminated. If I hadn't accidentally obtained that ancient stone tablet, maybe I would still be in a state of chaotic spiritual intelligence. The Void Dragon clan, the Flame Demon Phoenix, the Kylan God clan. Generally, the ancient races would like to take the initiative to hide their identities because they are worried about their bloodline being exposed. I didn't expect that the Nagarjuna clan would be so courageous, taking the initiative to expose their identities. Isn't this because they are impatient?" Yes. According to previous experience, as long as anything is stained with the word ancient, it must be something remarkable. At this moment, Xiao Xian could not help but focus on Xiaolu. "There's no need to say that." Xiaolu thought thoughtfully, is it possible that there were many ancient bloodlines in Nanzan Hai's Hu in the past? This is a bit strange. Royal. These races, even in the ancient times when strong men were everywhere, were still first-class strong races. If such races are still passed down by blood now, it is naturally very remarkable. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1124. Too difficult. The reason why our ancient race is so powerful is not only because of the ancient blood in the body, but also because of the vitality of the ancient era at that time. Xiao Lu shook his head. In ancient times, as long as various races absorbed vitality, their physical strength and cultivation speed would be greatly accelerated. This is why the ancient races were far stronger than today's races, but now. Xiao Lu said, but her mouth suddenly stopped, and her eyes suddenly became a little surprised. She noticed a familiar aura burned in Xiao Xian's hands. It is the vitality of ancient times. You? What's going on? Aren't you from the Dao continent? How come you have vitality in your body? Xiao Lu couldn't hide her inner surprise. Hey, secret. Xiao Xian smiled. In fact, when Xiao Lu talked about ancient vitality, he had an inexplicable premonition in his heart, feeling that the origin energy in his body should be similar to the so-called ancient vitality. So he also tried to summon it. Unexpectedly, things turned out to be exactly as he expected. The so-called ancient vitality turned out to be the origin energy cultivated in him. Doesn't this mean that he himself is the biggest trump card on Dao continent? As long as he relies on this source of energy to practice with concentration, in the future, he can also be on par with the ancient royal family. This undoubtedly gave him a huge shot in the arm. You. Why do you have this kind of ancient vitality? The little green eyes lit up. If I have this vitality, maybe I can reawaken the ancient royal bloodline in the future. Hear these words. Xiao Xian also had a smile on his face and said directly, of course, with our relationship, it is only natural to give you this energy. His words aroused Xiaolu's doubts. In fact, Xiao Lu has followed Xiao Xian for such a long time and knows what kind of person the latter is. You will only take advantage and not suffer any losses. Today, now that we know how important this ancient vitality is, logically speaking, we shouldn't give it to her for no reason, right? What are the conditions? Just tell me. Xiao Lu looked arrogant. As a divine beast with ancient bloodline, she also has her own bottom line. Even if Xiao Xian has vitality, she will not be allowed to do things she doesn't want to do. No conditions. We are friends. Whenever you need it in the future, I will always be able to provide you with the vitality you need. Xiao Xian smiled. Hearing this, Xiao Lu couldn't believe her ears. She had never heard such words from Xiao Xian in such a long time. Why are you looking at me like that? No matter how you say it, I've always been very nice to you. Whatever you wanted before, I always gave it to you without saying a word. After Xiao Xian saw Xiao Lu's eyes, he was also dissatisfied and said, besides, you are begging me to do something now, not me begging you. Speaking of which, Xiaolu was also helpless. Although she didn't understand what kind of medicine Xiao Xian was selling in the gourd, she could roughly tell that Xiao Xian must have an ulterior motive. But that's what happened. She didn't have much to say, so she just nodded slightly, agreeing to Xiao Xian's words. The other side. In his opinion, although his current strength is only 5 stars of the Blue God realm, he may not be afraid of anything even if there are strong men at the peak of the Blue God realm or even the little Golden God realm in front of him. But at the same time, this will also bring about a big problem, that is, once Xiao Xian encounters any danger, if the space magic weapon is forcibly opened, the secret of Emperor Nagarjuna will be exposed instantly. Therefore, most people who get Nagarjuna will hide it in a safe place and only go there when practicing. Don't worry. By that time, figure out these joints. He could roughly tell. Because next, we will truly enter the territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance. In fact, for such a long time, he also knew the strength of some people on the Dao continent. I know it in my heart. If I encounter an irresistible strong person, I will not take action casually. Long Tai suggested. Besides, the king of Nagarjuna is of great importance. If the Nagarjuna sect knows that another king of Nagarjuna has appeared in their race, they will probably take action. Long Tai said no more, just shook his head and continued, well, since Mr. Xiaoxian is so confident, I won't say more, but, there is one thing, we have to be careful next. He also has some understanding of his own strength. Xiaoxian placed the Emperor of Nagarjuna in the space magic weapon, and used this method to maximize the benefits of the Emperor of Nagarjuna. Perhaps, he can rely on the way of the fish spirit to return to the eastern wilderness continent. In the cave, when Xiaoxian got the Queen of Nagarjuna, he stopped talking. Long Taixin was also a little puzzled. Perhaps, for Long Tai, Emperor Nagarjuna is a big deal. Although Long Tai was a little hesitant, he still nodded. Xiaoxian didn't care so much. And as he becomes stronger. Moreover, after fighting Shi Qicheng. Why? Xiaoxian was a little confused. On weekdays, as long as I practice, I can use this Dragon Tree Emperor at any time. If it is placed somewhere else, wouldn't I have to make a special trip if I want to practice? But for these words. But for a talented son like Xiaoxian, it may not be that big. Maybe in Xiaoxian's eyes, the Emperor of Nagarjuna, or even the entire Nagarjuna sect, is nothing. If someone discovers what happened to Emperor Nagarjuna, it will be a troublesome thing. But now, Xiaoxian actually used this method, which made Long Tai a little worried. He couldn't help but remind him, Master Xiaoxian, the matter of Emperor Nagarjuna is of great importance. I suggest that Emperor Nagarjuna be hidden away it somewhere, no need to carry it with you. He also roughly knows that people like Xiaoxian will definitely be the rising stars of the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu, and even the entire Nanzan Haizhu in the near future. Xiaoxian nodded slightly and said, now, let's go through this valley as quickly as possible and go to the White Flame Valley. I think it's convenient to have it with you. This is also the safest. Say it. If one day, he can reach the peak of the Kang God realm, or even the little Golden God realm, he will not care about the Golden God realm. I have to say, this is a very good approach. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1125. Hearing Long Tai's words, Xiaoxian was even more confused. He was a little confused. Before, he remembered that Long Tai had said that they had entered the territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance. Why did you just say it again now? What's going on? Could it be that Long Tai was just teasing him before? However, as soon as he had this idea, he kicked it out of his head. How can this be? Long Tai is also a famous elder in the Yuling sect, a person deeply trusted by Han Xian. How could such a person joke with him at such a critical moment? Isn't this a joke? Figure this out. Xiaoxian couldn't help but ask, Elder Long Tai. What do you mean? If I remember correctly, before entering this mountain range, you already said that this is the territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance. Why, are you now entering the territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance? Are you confused? No. Actually, what I said before entering this mountain range was not a lie. Long Tai didn't seem surprised by Xiaoxian's doubts, and explained, it's just that before, it was only the territory of the outer disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance and some subordinate sects, so we didn't encounter too much trouble, and next, if crossing this mountain range, we may be about to meet the core disciples behind this mountain range. Core disciple. I see. It seems that the real challenge is next. Xiao Xian also understood immediately. After such a long period of contact, he knew that Elder Long Tai was not a person who liked to talk nonsense. Now, since Elder Long Tai specifically said that this mountain range is guarded by the core disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance, it also proves that the road to be taken next must be extremely dangerous. He can figure this out. But when I saw the endless mountains in the distance, there was a bit of suspicion on his face, and he said directly, however, although the Spirit Snake Alliance is considered very strong in the East, its strength does not seem to be so exaggerated, right? Could it be that in such a large mountain range, there are Spirit Snake Alliance disciples everywhere? Xiao Xian was a little confused. You can't say that. Although the Spirit Snake Alliance is a relatively strong sect in the East, it is not so strong that it is invincible. However, you may not know that the Spirit Snake Alliance has a special method, the soul-searching technique. Long Tai's face showed a solemn look. Spirit Snake Alliance usually arranges a detection altar in a secret place in the mountains at regular intervals. Relying on the detection altar, we can obtain the situation in a large area nearby. This is what we things to watch out for. What is the discovery altar? Xiao Xian looked confused. He felt that he had seen many new things after coming to Nanzan Hai's Hu. A magical detection weapon. Long Tai scratched the back of his head and explained, you can understand it as a magic weapon to detect the surrounding movements. Xiao Xian nodded secretly. Now that he has said this, he will be able to understand how the Spirit Snake Alliance manages such a large mountain range. But this also brought him a lot of trouble. To be honest, with the existence of this kind of reconnaissance magic weapon, wherever they want to go, they will be exposed to the sight of the Spirit Snake Alliance. Just relying on what Xiao Xian did to Shiqing before. It is absolutely impossible for the Spirit Snake Alliance to turn a blind eye to him. If they knew that Xiao Xian had come to their territory, they would probably target him desperately. This would definitely be a troublesome matter. Let's take a step and see. Since there is no way around it, we have no choice but to go in. As long as we don't encounter a real strong person in the Golden God realm, we can still fight. Xiao Xian said. Hearing this, Long Tai also nodded. But at the same time, he was also secretly surprised in his heart. After all, Xiao Xian's current superficial realm was only a 5-star Kangshen realm. Originally, according to his strength, he could become a minor leader within the Spirit Snake Alliance and obtain more training resources. You know, I was in the Yuling sect at that time. But because of Danta's failure. After hearing these words, Long Tai couldn't help but be secretly shocked. Xiao Xian, with the 5-star Kangshen realm, could actually fight against all enemies under the Golden God realm. After all, in the vast mountains of the Spirit Snake Alliance, there is no blessing from the fish spirit formation, and the divine bird may not appear again. By detecting the altar, he clearly saw that the people walking slowly in the mountains were actually Xiao Xian and Long Tai Hao, and their eyes were shining. Long Tai's eyes were full of approval. However, with your words, I feel relieved. Let's go. But if possible, it's better for us to try not to provoke these people. This also surprised Long Tai secretly, and he couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. In such a realm, let alone the Spirit Snake League with many masters, even in the Yuling sect, he is not an absolute leader, but Xiao Xian has proved himself by relying on his achievements time and time again. Snake Fen naturally did not dare to vent his anger on Snake Wanlong. In the end, he could only think that Xiao Xian deserved to die and took away the first place in the Dan Pagoda that should have belonged to him. Damn thing. In that case, don't blame me for being rude. Xiao Xian was able to kill Shiqing, which can be said to have relied on the appearance of the fish spirit formation and the mythical beast and bird, which makes sense. Did not expect. Under the realm of the Golden God, his combat power is invincible, which subverts Long Tai's knowledge. At the same time, on a hilltop not far from Xiao Xian, He knew very well that he was now on the territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance, and if he really wanted to cause trouble for others, it would not be that simple. This is definitely an outrageous thing. In this regard, Xiao Xian also nodded. You can still say such things. For these things. Several disciples from the Spirit Snake Alliance also noticed them. And now, Xiao Xian also expressed his attitude. They also know one thing very well. On other people's territory, sometimes they really cannot be too arrogant. Even Bai Qingyun, who was originally betrothed to him, was given to other disciples. The leading disciple is surprisingly the snake wind that Xiao Xian met in the Dan Pagoda before. Now, Snake Wind has broken through the Blue God realm and become the Little Golden God realm. Now, Snake Wind slowly opened his eyes. But now. Besides, Xiao Xian didn't think that the Spirit Snake Alliance could be so generous and really let him go easily. The mountains and fields are vast. Originally, I thought that I would never have the chance to take revenge in person in the future, but I didn't expect that you, a guy like you, really wanted to die and came to our Spirit Snake Alliance territory. With this, Xiao Xian dared to say such words. After dressing up in disguise, Xiao Xian and Long Tai also deliberately restrained their auras. He was thrown into this barren mountain range by the angry snake Wanlong, and became the caretaker of the mountain range. This was a remote place, almost placed on the edge of the section. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1126. Steward, what did you see? Beside Shifeng, several Spirit Snake Alliance disciples looked at each other with confusion on their faces. They are different from Snake Wind. The reason why these disciples were sent to such deep mountains and old forests was entirely because they themselves had no talent for cultivation. Among these disciples, the strongest were those with 2 stars in the Blue God realm, and there were even a few who had not yet reached the Blue God realm. Being with these people, Snake Feng always had a sense of superiority. In his opinion, these disciples with poor talent were not worthy of working with him at all. Therefore, Shifeng usually didn't give them a good look. Saw an old friend. Snake Wind sneered, you guys come with me and kill the intruders. Ah! Isn't this a bit unruly? According to the Alliance leader's wishes, we only need to investigate, there is no need to take the initiative, right? Several disciples were a little hesitant. They have completely different ideas from Snake Wind. In their view, coming to a mountainous area where birds don't shit means that this is the end of their cultivation career. Who knew that this guy Shifeng seemed to have been given a shot of chicken blood, not only practicing all day long, but he would lead them to kill people today. This made them a bit dissatisfied. To put it harshly, with the strength of those disciples, wouldn't it mean that they would be courting death if they went to find others? Snored. You wimps. Are you planning to spend your whole life living in the Blue God realm? Snake Feng had a look of disgust on his face. Seeing Snake Feng like this, although the other disciples were dissatisfied, they didn't dare to say anything on the surface. They all know that within the Spirit Snake Alliance, strength is respected, and only strength has the right to speak. Not to mention the level of steward, even the leader of the Spirit Snake Alliance is like this. Within the Spirit Snake Alliance, anyone can take his place as long as he is strong enough. But even so, these disciples were secretly dissatisfied with Shifeng. Under the foot of the mountain, Xiao Xian looked at the tall mountain peaks in front of him, feeling a little frightened in his heart. He directly said to Long Tai beside him, the Spirit Snake Alliance is really capable. It can even occupy such a place by force. Is there anything here? What's the danger? There should be. It is said that this place was also a forbidden area at that time. The Spirit Snake Alliance sent out Dragon God level experts to subdue some of the monsters in this mountain range. Long Tai said, "It's strange to say that since seizing this territory, the strength of the Spirit Snake Alliance has also grown by leaps and bounds, giving birth to half-step dragon gods like Shiqing Snake Ao." Hearing this, Xiao Xian really became interested. All the time, he was curious as to why the Spirit Snake Alliance suddenly rose to prominence, and how could it even take control of an established sect like the Yuling sect. This is definitely not an accident, but there is an unknown secret behind it. Could it be that the secret lies in this mountain range? If this is the case, then he really needs to pay more attention this time when he comes to this mountain range. So, this place has become the blessed land of the Spirit Snake Alliance, Xiao Xian said. But it could be said that, however, since the Spirit Snake Alliance obtained this place, it has not spent much effort here. It only sent some peripheral outer sect disciples here. Long Tai said, "As long as we move faster, a few outer disciples won't pose much of a threat to us." Xiao Xian also nodded silently after hearing these words. Now in the wilderness. After saying these words, Long Tai couldn't help but take a breath of air. He didn't expect Xiao Xian to say this. Through the divine soul in the divine realm, Xiao Xian quickly felt something. He vaguely discovered that he and Long Tai seemed to have entered an inexplicable trap. Little Golden God Realm. Xiao Xian, you. With such strength, he can be considered a pretty strong disciple even among the Spirit Snake Alliance. Long Tai wanted to say something else, but before he could say it, Xiao Xian stopped him directly. "He's here." Is Xiao Xian a little too cautious? I feel that there seems to be a very strong aura of the Spirit Snake Alliance in this valley, and one of the auras has even reached the Little Golden God realm. For a moment, Long Tai couldn't help but ask, and speaking of which, this was the first time that Xiao Xian directly faced a strong man from the Little Golden God realm. The last time he killed Shiqing, in the final analysis, he still relied on the fish spirit formation and Xiao Lu's final move. Isn't this a bit unlikely? For so long. This really made Long Tai a little confused. Xiao Xian said directly. In fact, what he said to Xiao Xian just now was what he thought in his heart. Basically, he didn't think there was anything wrong with what he said. In his opinion, some of the outer disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance were no threat to them at all. And this feeling is getting stronger and stronger. According to normal circumstances, if there is a disciple of this level, he should appear arrogantly. How can he be so timid? Are you sure you are in the Little Golden God realm? In the end, Xiao Xian did not hesitate and asked Long Tai to stop moving and found a place to hide under a small river. With what Long Tai said before, Xiao Xian felt a lot more relaxed, thinking that there would be no strong people in this mountain range. According to normal principles, disciples of this level should be placed in the inner sect to be trained as core disciples. How could they be left in the mountains to serve as stewards? Isn't this a waste of talent? A strong and fierce aura appeared. His fish spirit method had almost no effect, and under the strong pressure of the Little Golden God realm, Xiao Xian also knew that further evasion would have no effect, so he simply walked out openly. What's more, based on their strength, if something really happened, the people of the Spirit Snake Alliance didn't seem to be so alert to them. Walk all the way. He could also roughly understand some things. From a certain perspective, the Spirit Snake Alliance sect sometimes really brought surprises to him. Not to mention anything else, he could suddenly have 2.5 steps to the Dragon God realm. But soon, he felt something was wrong. This is enough to prove that the Spirit Snake Alliance still has something. Regarding this, Xiao Xian also secretly became nervous. This is a unique kind of snake demon aura that belongs to the Spirit Snake Alliance, with a wild atmosphere. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not fo. Chapter 1127. Xiaoxian. It's been a long time. I didn't expect to meet you here today. It's really a gift from God. Snakewind's face was full of excitement. Seeing Xiaoxian was like a hungry dog seeing a piece of fat meat. Xiaoxian didn't care at all about Snake Feng's performance, but Yun Danfan said lightly, "What a coincidence. I didn't expect to meet you Snake Feng here." "What? I don't know if Mr. Snake Feng is willing to do it for convenience, make way for us to come out." "Ha ha ha. Xiaoxian, have you lost your mind? You have done great harm to the Yuling sect, and now you ask me to make way for you. Do you really think that our Spirit Snake Alliance has no one left?" Snake Feng's face was stern. After hearing these words, Xiaoxian just shook his head slightly and pulled open his cloak. "Snake Feng, speaking of it, you can be considered a disciple of some status in the Spirit Snake Alliance. You should not do anything too stupid. Don't you know? Has Shi Qing died in my hands?" After saying this, the faces of the other disciples around Shifeng looked a little strange. Obviously, they did not expect that such a young practitioner as Xiaoxian could do such a big thing. Can you kill Snake Qing who is even half a step into the Dragon God realm? Doesn't this mean that Xiaoxian's strength has surpassed Shi Qing's? For a moment, several outer disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance also became nervous. "Humph, don't worry. The reason why Xiaoxian was able to kill Shi Qing was just the help of the fish spirit formation, it was nothing." Snakewind sneered, "Moreover, I heard that a divine bird appeared in the world at that time. It was because of the divine bird's suppression of my spirit snake's blood that you barely won. I don't believe that this divine bird can still appear today." His explanation was actually meant for the disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance to hear. Speaking of which, although the outer disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance are not very strong, they can still help Snake Feng to a certain extent. So now, Snakewind can only say this. "I see. No wonder, I saw the two of them just now, that is, the strength of the Blue God realm, nothing more. With such strength, it is simply impossible to fight against a strong man who is half a step into the Dragon God realm." Indeed so. The disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance were talking a lot. However, what made Snake Fenki vomit blood was that none of these people took the initiative to step forward. Instead, all of them had curiosity on their faces. "You." Snakewind originally wanted to scold him, but when he saw that these disciples were all about 1 star in the Blue God realm, he felt helpless on his face. He can roughly know. For an outer sect disciple with such strength, even if he fights against Xiaoxian, there will probably be no good results, which is similar to delivering food. If you want to kill Xiaoxian, you may have to rely on his own methods. It seems that the disciples of your Spirit Snake Alliance are also average in strength. Xiaoxian also noticed this and continued, "Ordinarily, a disciple like you who has participated in the Danta trial should be regarded as the core of the section. How did you come back to this place after being trained as a disciple?" "You. This has nothing to do with you." Snakewind was filled with anger. "You just need to know that today is the day you die." After saying these words, Xiaoxian and Long Tai's faces instantly became alert. In fact, when he saw that the person standing in front of him was Snake Feng, he felt a little helpless in his heart. In any case, the fact that Snake Feng was a Danta trial disciple of the Spirit Snake Alliance at that time was enough to prove that he was a very good person. Talented people. There are only such characters. Maybe he can barely compete with him. But what Xiaoxian didn't expect was that when he was in the Dan Pagoda, Snakewind was only at the peak of the Blue God realm, but now he has become a strong man in the Little Golden God realm. That's fine. It just so happens that I also want to see how powerful the so-called Little Golden God realm is. Xiaoxian smiled slightly. Speaking of which, after coming to Nanzan Heizhu, although he had seen many powerful people at the level of the Little Golden God, He had never faced a strong person at the level of the little golden god. Now, in terms of realm, he is only a 5-star Kangshen realm. But he is very confident. In his opinion, practitioners in the little golden god realm may not be able to do anything to him. Ha ha ha. I have long heard that Xiao Xian of the Yuling sect is arrogant, and today it seems that he is really so. After hearing Xiao Xian's words, Shifeng couldn't help laughing and said, "Could it be that you think you have some cultivation talent and think you can challenge the little golden god realm with a 5-star Kang god realm? That's really ridiculous." Xiao Xian didn't care. After sizing up Shifeng, he said directly, "Indeed, I have heard some legends about powerful people in the little golden god realm. It is said that a cultivator who can break through the Kang god realm and reach the little golden god realm is indeed somewhat transcendent. The great understanding of the Kangshen realm. However, I am really curious as to what understanding you, a defeated general, have. You wanna die?" Xiao Xian said these words. There is no doubt that it stimulated snake wind. You know, in the Spirit Snake Alliance, people like Shifeng can be regarded as the best among the disciples. Although, because of his failure in the Danta trial, he was exiled to this poor place by Snake Wanlong. But what I have to say is, even so, Snake Wind is considered one of the most powerful among the young disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance. Meeting Xiao Xian today is also a good opportunity for Snake Feng. If he can successfully kill Xiao Xian, with this contribution, Snake Wanlong will most likely reuse him again and let him return to the inner sect. Everyone, seal off the surrounding space. Don't let this guy get away. After Shifeng gritted his teeth and said to the Spirit Snake Alliance disciples around him, he flew directly towards Xiao Xian and rushed towards him. But I haven't met Xiao Xian yet. There was a black and strong body like an iron tower in front of him. Long Tai held a striped dragon iron rod, stood in front of Snake Feng with a gloomy expression, and roared, "Snake Feng, if you want to attack Mr. Xiao Xian, you must first pass my level." Elder Longti. After so many years, I didn't expect that you are still at the peak of the Blue God realm. It seems that your talent will stop here. Snakewind looked at the person in front of him and mocked disdainfully, although it is quite difficult for outer sect practitioners to break through the realm, at the same level, outer sect practitioners do have stronger combat effectiveness, but you may not know, little golden god, the gap between the Kangshen realm and the Kangshen realm cannot be bridged by an outer sect cultivator. Today, I am only looking for Xiao Xian, and it has nothing to do with anyone else. Get away quickly, maybe I can spare your life. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1128. Snort. Snake Feng, others are afraid of you, but I am not afraid of you. I have been practicing in the Yuling sect these years. Although I haven't left the sect for a long time, my strength is not something that a junior can contend with. Long Taixin felt angry. As an elder within the Yuling sect, he can also be regarded as Snake Feng Senior. However, now his level is not as good as that of the junior Snake Feng in front of him, which makes Long Tai, who is proud in his heart, secretly unhappy. For this situation, he also wanted to prove himself. After all, there was only one level difference between the peak of Kang God Realm and the Little Golden God Realm. Even if they could not defeat Snakewind, if they could fight to a draw, they would be much more relaxed today. Iron Body. Rise. At that moment, Long Tai did not hesitate and directly used his strongest enhanced Taoist technique in the face of Snakewind. With a roar, countless black fine iron waves appeared out of thin air and were instilled into Long Tai's body, causing the latter's body to instantly expand several times, turning into a black iron giant several times taller. Break it for me. Long Tai roared angrily, stepped forward and back with his two long legs, folded his hands, and hit Snake Feng's head with an iron fist. Seeing this, the disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance were shocked. When they were in it, they could feel that this force was extremely powerful. Coupled with Long Tai's huge body, they felt as if they were being pressed down by Mount Tai, making it difficult for them to compete against such power. Except for Snake Wind, the other disciples in the Spirit Snake Alliance fled in all directions, not even thinking about resisting. See this scene. Xiao Xian also nodded secretly. Even though Long Tai's move was quite simple, it was like a reckless man who could only rely on strength to fight. However, when the strength and speed reached a certain level, even the simplest move would have great effects. The power. Just like now, perhaps, Long Tai's moves don't have much skill. But even if a true Golden God Realm powerhouse were here, he would probably attach great importance to Long Tai's move. Interesting. Can it be said that all the disciples of Yuling sect are such reckless people? On the other hand, the snake spirit remained calm in the face of such an attack, and even had a hint of contempt on his face. Then, he recited some kind of Spirit Snake Alliance spell. Around Long Tai, countless colorful spirit snakes appeared in an instant. Although the body of the spirit snake was not as huge as Long Tai, it was superior in number. At this time, surrounding Long Tai, it actually greatly slowed down Long Tai's attack. Action. At this moment, Long Tai was like a giant trapped in a quagmire. He had no strength, but was unable to use it. He could only punch these spiritual snakes with punches. But these spiritual snakes are not only agile in movement, but also numerous in number. Even though Long Tai could occasionally kill a few spirit snakes, more spirit snakes surrounded him tightly like locusts, constantly attacking his eyes, heart, and other vulnerable parts. Seeing this, Xiao Xian frowned tightly. He could see that an outer sect cultivator like Long Tai was only suitable for fighting against a head-to-head outer sect cultivator. Facing a spiritual snake cultivator like Shifeng, if the latter did not fight head-on, Long Tai would sooner or later you will be dragged to death. As expected of a talented disciple of the Spirit Snake Alliance. But, if you meet me today, let me see what other methods you have. Xiao Xian sneered, and the chaotic vortex behind him slowly appeared. The huge attraction attracted these spiritual snakes towards the vortex. Seeing this scene, Shifeng's eyes became a lot colder. As expected of a talented disciple with some strength. If that's true, it's a bit ridiculous. He didn't care at all about the question raised by Snake Feng. In his opinion, Snake Feng's question was extremely stupid. This is also normal, but now, when Shifeng heard Xiao Xian say this, he was naturally surprised. You can actually break through my 10,000 snakes heart-eating formation, which is enough to be proud of. There are indeed many great ways that he has cultivated. If you are greedy for too much and are too miscellaneous, I'm afraid you will only have a taste of all the avenues and will never be able to break through to the Golden God Realm. Shifeng sneered. I advise you. Not to mention ordinary people, even the Saint Sun Sword immortals in some sects are not as talented as him. He also obtained a lot of resources and secret treasures from this continent. With the help of these things, Xiao Xian also had full confidence to practice many avenues at the same time. What you can't do, maybe others can't do it, you know. Stupid person. From a certain perspective, what Snake Feng said still makes some sense, but this does not mean that what he said is right. The disciples of White Flame Valley practice the way of White Flame. In fact, when he first saw Xiao Xian and Long Tai, he had already regarded Xiao Xian as his first target in this battle. Even the leader of our Spirit Snake Alliance, Snake Wanlong, would not dare to say such outrageous words. Who are you to have the guts to say such words? Isn't this ridiculous? On the other hand, Xiao Xian himself, after seeing Snake Feng's appearance, just smiled and said nonchalantly, although you have reached the little Golden God realm, as far as your talent is concerned, it may only stop here in this life. As far as I am concerned, it doesn't pose any threat to me at all. But for Snake Feng, It was indeed a bit shocking. Not to mention after coming to Daedao continent. There's nothing strange about this. He. Shifeng hated Xiaoxian so much that his teeth itched. Xiaoxian shook his head slightly. Disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance practice the way of the Spirit Snake. Almost instantly. Once upon a time, Xiaoxian also doubted his talent, but later it turned out that he had shown amazing talent no matter in Tianyuan continent or the Great Desolate continent. It turns out that among the sects in the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu, whether it is the Yuling sect or the White Flame Valley of the Spirit Snake Alliance, the avenues practiced by the disciples of the sects are basically the avenues of their own sects. Xiaoxian cares about walking. Shifeng looked at Xiaoxian with a cold look in his eyes. However, what puzzles me is that as a disciple of the Yuling sect, the path you practice is not the path of the Yuling section. You don't have to use your talent to judge everyone else. Before Snakewind could react, the spiritual snakes he had just created were all absorbed into them, and Longtai, who was among them, staggered back a few steps and breathed a sigh of relief. Disciples of the Fish Spirit sect practice the way of the Fish Spirit. Shameless talk. There are thousands of disciples in the Yuling section. Does the path they practice must all be the way of the Yuling sect? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1129. Xiaoxian. Don't be too arrogant. Do you really think that as a powerful person in the little golden god realm, I really can't do anything to you? Then you are a bit too naive. Snakewind was furious. Having said this, Longtai secretly felt worried for Xiaoxian. No matter what, there is still no problem with what Snake Feng said. He is a strong man at the little golden god realm, while Xiaoxian is only a 5-star Kang god realm. The difference in realm between them is definitely not a star. If Snakewind really showed the pressure of being in the little golden god realm, it is definitely not easy for Xiaoxian to defeat him, and even defeat is not surprising. At this moment, Long Taixin was also nervous. He also didn't know whether Xiaoxian could defeat an opponent of Shang Shifeng's level. Although, based on Xiaoxian's previous record, he would basically not fail, but the before was before, and the present is now. Who knows if the Snakewind will still have a trump card? So to say. Are you really going to show your stupidity in front of me today? Seeing Xiaoxian's eagerness to try, Shifeng was also annoyed. By the way, let me let you know the strength gap between you and me. For Xiaoxian, the pressure brought to him by the little golden god realm like Snakewind is really not as great as those old monsters who have been immersed in the little golden god realm for many years. The reason is also very simple. Compared with Snake Feng, a cultivator who has just entered the little golden god realm, those old monsters have many more trump cards. It can be said that if there is a veteran golden god realm strongman in the Spirit Snake Alliance standing in front of Xiaoxian now, maybe he is really a little scared, maybe he will turn around and run away. But now, the person standing in front of Xiaoxian was just Snake Feng, so he was naturally not so afraid. Shameless talk. In this case, I will show you today how big the gap is between a real strong person in the little golden god realm and a half-assed blue god realm like you. As Snakewind spoke, the aura on his body suddenly surged. In the little golden god realm, once you have cultivated to this realm, you can actually understand the way of space that only the golden god realm can understand, and your body can travel short distances in space. Such a level of understanding of the Great Road. It is definitely not comparable to ordinary Shenfa and Taoism. This is also the reason why the strong men of the Golden God realm are completely overwhelmed when facing the Blue God realm. But now, Xiaoxian can feel that Snakewind, the little Golden God realm, is not worthy of its name and does not bring him that kind of spatial pressure. This is one of the reasons why he has the courage to challenge Snake Wind. Hear these words. Xiao Xian just smiled slightly and said directly, I can tell you directly, with your current strength, if you want to defeat me, it is simply a fantasy. Idiot's dream. Ha ha ha. I have seen some arrogant people. But I've never seen such an arrogant person like you. Snake Wind couldn't help but shake his head. If you are really capable, why are you still just a 5-star blue god realm? You haven't even touched the threshold of the little golden god realm. Isn't this ridiculous? He never expected it. How ridiculous. Snake Feng did not dare to neglect, and quickly used all his strength to forcefully twist away the vital parts of his body. Only then did Xiao Xian avoid a fatal blow. Even so, there was still a big bloody hole in his back. Shifeng almost laughed out loud. To him, what Xiao Xian showed just now was simply ridiculous. With this ability, it is a sure kill advantage in fighting against Kangshen realm practitioners. Thinking of this, Shifeng also sneered, and appeared directly behind Xiao Xian in a flash. A dark green snake venom dagger appeared and stabbed Xiao Xian in the back. It's such a pity. We were so close to letting this guy die. He saw Snake Wind's strength with his own eyes. Blood flowed instantly. This guy has just been promoted to the little golden god realm. In terms of strength, he is indeed not very powerful. At least compared to some veteran little golden god realm experts, he is still much weaker. It turns out that the scene just now was just a shadow of Xiao Xian. Don't say anything else. But one thing Xiao Xian was right about was that Shifeng did rely on a pill to forcibly raise his level to the little golden god realm. Only after reaching the little golden god realm did he realize how powerful this realm was. Long Tai clenched his fists and said, Come on Xiao Xian, I believe you can defeat Snake Wind. You must work hard. This is a pity. Xiao Xian actually set a trap for him just now, seducing him into using the power of space to sneak attack, and finally used the serious sword to attack him. Snake Feng was surprised to find that when the snake venom dagger touched Xiao Xian's body, it passed through without any hindrance. Under this bloody mouth. Hearing what Xiao Xian said. Just relying on the ability to suddenly appear behind the opponent during a battle is not something that ordinary people in the Kangshen realm can resist. Short distance time travel. In an instant, Snake Wind felt the crisis. Xiao Xian smiled slightly. Cultivation is just like building a building from the ground. It should be improved steadily. If you forcefully improve your realm like this, although your realm is high, if you don't have the strength and understanding to match your realm, you can't do anything. It's just a toy. This scene also surprised Long Tai next to him. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Turning back, he saw a long sword stabbing directly into his back, which shocked him. Just now, the reason why Snake Feng talked so much with Xiao Xian was to accumulate strength and use the power of space to give Xiao Xian a fatal blow. Just now, Long Tai could feel this when he and Snake Feng fought. It's not funny at all. This snake venom dagger was given to Shifeng by Snake Wanlong, the leader of the Spirit Snake Alliance. Shifeng has always regarded it as a treasure. Today, it was specially taken out to target Xiao Xian. On the one hand, it pays attention to Xiao Xian, on the other hand, it is hope. In this way, he shows his respect for Snake Bandung. But the next second. But now, after seeing with his own eyes that Xiao Xian injured Shifeng or even killed him with just one move, Long Tai was extremely shocked. He couldn't believe that Xiao Xian, a 5-star cultivator in the Blue God realm, could do this in such a way. At the critical moment, set a trap for Snake Wind in the little golden god realm. Almost killed him with one click. Today, I will show you the true 5-star Kangshen realm. On the contrary, the really ridiculous person should be yourself. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1130. Noisy. Heard Long Tai's words. Shifeng, who was already angry, became even more angry. He gave up on Xiaoxian in front of him and instead struck Long Tai with the spirit snake fist. I saw that Snake Wind's arm was like a smart snake body, hitting Long Tai at a weird angle. For such an attack method, even Long Tai, who was experienced in combat, was a little tired at this time. Response. Several consecutive punches hit Long Tai's body heavily. This time, even Long Tai, who was practicing outer sex skills, was covered in bruises, and was seriously injured. Although he fought back hard in the end, the effect was very average, and basically did not cause much trouble to Snake Wind. Humph, how's it going? Now you should know how big the gap is between the little golden god realm and the blue god realm, right? Snake Wind was very proud. He discovered that although for some reason he could not take advantage of his status as a little golden god with Xiaoxian, he could fully demonstrate this advantage with Long Tai. But before he was about to take action, Xiaoxian once again stood in front of Snake Feng. It turns out that with the power of the divine soul in the divine realm, Xiaoxian can accurately judge every action of Snake Feng, and can appear appropriately on the path of Snake Feng's actions. It is precisely because of this that Xiaoxian can make Snake Feng the space travel ability is not that useful. Humph. It seems that your little golden god realm is not as strong as I thought. Xiaoxian sneered and stood directly in front of Shifeng. Even Snake Feng himself had a look of ugliness on his face at this moment. He originally thought that with his strength at the little golden god realm, he should be able to easily defeat Xiaoxian Long Tai, capture them back to the Spirit Snake Alliance, and be rewarded for their meritorious service. From then on, he became the core disciple of the Spirit Snake Alliance again. But now, reality slapped him hard. His plan was once again broken by Xiaoxian. This made him feel aggrieved, and he wished he could jump out and fight Xiaoxian to the death right now. But after thinking about it, Shifeng didn't do that. The reason is also very simple. Every time they face Xiaoxian, there is always an inexplicable sense of fear. It seems that Xiaoxian in front of him has an unfathomable feeling that makes him dare not fight head-on. And Xiaoxian quickly realized this. He was still very willing to see Shifeng's reaction. To be honest, although Shifeng relied on elixirs to upgrade his realm to the little golden god realm, that was also the real little golden god realm. Due to the gap in realms, Xiaoxian's power of the Great Dao is naturally no match for Snake Feng. If Snake Wind defeats 10 levels at once and forcibly crushes Xiaoxian with his own power of the Great Dao, and thus wins, what will happen next? It's really hard to tell. But it's different now. Facing the Snake Wind in front of him, Xiaoxian found that this guy seemed to have a feeling of fear for him in his heart. Even when fighting, he did not dare to use all his strength. From this point of view, it was not so easy to win. Easy. Hee. This is really interesting. As a cultivator of the little golden god realm, you are as timid as a mouse. This Snake Wind is really a bit cowardly. Xiaoxian thought to himself. At the same time, he also had a bold idea in his mind. Since Snake Wind is so timid, why not attack directly? Maybe, this will give you a better chance. When I first came to this valley, there were still sounds of various monster beasts in the valley. Judging from the sounds of the monster beasts, these monster beasts were not of low grade. Speaking of which, although Shifeng did not cause much trouble to Xiaoxian in several trials, this does not mean that Shifeng really can't help Xiaoxian, at least Shifeng doesn't think so now. You actually have such an understanding. Perhaps, Xiaoxian needs to take the initiative to find opportunities. Is it possible that Xiaoxian can be so arrogant? Can you just take it for granted that you can defeat him by taking the initiative? In his opinion, what Xiaoxian did was indeed a commendable act of courage, but if he did not have enough strength, what was the difference between doing this and seeking death? Xiaoxian sneered, the way of the fish spirit was running in his body, and he relied on the powerful fish spirit breath to forcibly suppress the snake wind spirit snake breath. Who knew that Xiao Xian would have the courage to take the initiative to attack now? No one knows when the support from the Spirit Snake Alliance will arrive. Now it is just a snake wind, which makes Xiao Xian and Long Tai so troublesome. If a few more powerful men from the Golden God realm or even the Dragon God realm come, the two of them people are really beyond redemption. This couldn't help but surprise him. The next second, countless colorful poisonous snakes suddenly appeared around Snake Wind. Snake Feng's eyes gradually darkened. Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated, holding the serious sword in hand, and his body was like a stream of light, attacking directly towards Snake Wind. Today he is really going to defeat Nanshan and taste failure again with Xiao Xian. Snake Wind realized. Rise. Unexpectedly, after the Snake Clan auras such as Snake Wind were released, they could completely suppress these monsters. This made Xiao Xian a little unexpected. The last time he fought against Qi Qing, he roughly knew that the disciples in the Spirit Snake Alliance would actually have the blood of the ancient demon snake. Xiao Xian also frowned slightly. Doesn't this mean he doesn't take his snake wind seriously? At this moment, Snake Feng couldn't help but be surprised when he felt the profound and mysterious way of fish spirit in Xiao Xian. But Shifeng had to admit that this was the true reality. Not only that, Xiao Xian's soul realm was also very high, even surpassing his little golden god realm. He does have some ability. 10,000 snake techniques. These poisonous snakes have triangular heads, their cold vertical pupils emit a cold-blooded light, and their bodies are covered with colorful scales. They look extremely terrifying. The aura of the demon clan emanates, making the entire valley silent. Seeing Xiao Xian taking the initiative to attack, Snake Feng did not dare to neglect at this time and activated the trump cards he had cultivated in the Spirit Snake Alliance. However, I think your current strength is just like that. You know, this mountain range is the territory of the Spirit Snake Alliance after all. As a member of the Spirit Snake Alliance, Snake Feng has often fought against the disciples of the Yuling sect over the years, and he is not unfamiliar with the way of the Yuling section. However, even when he fought against some elders of the Yuling sect, he did not feel that there is such a strong Yuling Dao in him. Such a thing sounds like a fantasy. Under his suppression, Snake Wind's power was forcibly suppressed. If there is no special means. This time also shocked Snake Feng. From this point of view, if this guy Snake Wind can be promoted to the little golden god realm, the monster aura in his body is not weak. Could it be said that Xiao Xian's understanding of the way of Yuling is more proficient than that of the elders of Yuling sect?